Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kakuya. The title of today's talk is Evil is the Exception, Not the Rule. Before we get into that, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. One important question that religions are expected to answer, including the religion of Buddhism, is what is the source of evil in the world? To put it another way, in the face of famine and war, thievery, murder, why do bad things happen? More specifically, why do bad things happen to good people? And this is an important question that the Buddha wrestled with 2,600 years ago. And what he determined is that in order to figure out where evil comes from, we first need to understand where goodness comes from. You see, Buddhism teaches that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature. That is, we all possess the seed of enlightenment within us, and we have the ability to end suffering both for ourselves and other people. However, we also possess defilements, specifically greed, anger, and ignorance, which cover over that Buddha nature. I'll read a passage from the Nirvana Sutra, which gives more detail, and then I'll let you know where I'm going with this. This reading comes from the BDK English Tripitaka version of the Nirvana Sutra. I highly recommend it. And it goes as follows. The bodies of living beings are also like this. Although they have poisonous snakes that make up the 4 elements of the body, they also have a wondrous medicine king within them, namely Buddha nature. This is no artificially constructed dharma, but it is obscured by the dust of adventitious defilements. Whether Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaisya, or Sudra, anyone who can remove these defilements will thereupon see the Buddha nature and complete the highest path. Just as when thunder cracks and clouds appear in the sky, flowers bloom on the tusks of all the elephants. But if there are no thunderclaps, then there would be no blooming of flowers, and no words for it either. The Buddha nature of living beings is just like this. In its usual state, it is covered by all the defilements and impossible to see. This is why I expound on non-self in living beings. So what the Buddha is saying in that passage, to put it more simply, is that all human beings, no matter what their station in life, no matter what they've done or will do in the future, possess Buddha nature, possess the ability to realize enlightenment. However, as I said, that natural state of that Buddha nature is to be covered over by the defilement of greed, anger, and ignorance. Every terrible thing that has happened in our world can be traced back to one of those defilements or a combination of them. In fact, an interesting thought experiment is to try and think of some bad thing in the world that is not tied to greed, not tied to anger, or not tied to ignorance. Let me know how that goes in the comments. That said, if we accept that our nature is Buddha, or as it's often said in the Western world, that we have fundamental goodness, and we accept that we also have defilements, what does that say for everyday life? It explains why bad things happen to us, but how do we know that goodness is fundamental to our nature and not the defilements? Well, one way we can figure this out is to look at our day-to-day life and what our experiences tend to be. Using myself as an example, I've had a good life, but I've also had some challenges. People have beaten me, they've robbed me, they've lied to me, they've even attempted to kill me on occasion. That said, the variety of my experiences, most of them with human beings, fall in either the neutral or the good category. Meaning, most of the people I talk to don't lie to me. Most of the people I work with don't steal from me. Most of the people I've had interactions with have not beaten or tried to kill me. In fact, if I sit quietly and think about my day-to-day interactions from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, like I said, they fall into either the neutral or the good category. Sure, someone may cut me off in traffic as I'm going into town, but maybe my interaction with the cashier is very pleasant, falls into the good category. They're polite and kind, ask me how my day is going. As I'm leaving, someone may hold the door open for me as I go out into the parking lot. And most of the people on the road don't cut me off, don't honk at me at the stop sign. It's a neutral experience. I go about my day and they go about theirs. Bad things, terrible things are part of the human experience, absolutely. Buddha does not deny this. However, at least in my case, and I believe it will be the same for you, if we look at all of our experiences with human beings, we'll find that most of them fall into the neutral or the good category, which fits with the idea of fundamental goodness, of Buddha nature, that evil is the exception, not the rule. Most of us are not thieves. Most of us are not murderers. Most of us are not liars or cheats. We're ordinary, decent human beings trying to do the best we can. And it's important that we remind ourselves of this because as human beings, we have something that psychologists call a negativity bias. And what that means, quite simply, is that if we give a speech and we have 4 judges and 3 of them think we did great and 1 of them thinks we suck, our mind is biased towards the person who thinks we suck. Sure, 75% of people were happy with what we did, but if we can just get that last 25%. Now, there's a good reason for this from an evolutionary standpoint. If we're trying to survive, we need to focus on what's dangerous, not what's not dangerous. We need to be looking out for the lions and the tigers and the bears, not the woodchucks and the bunny rabbits. If we're too chill in daily life, that's when we get devoured by wild animals. So it was our ancestors with the negativity bias that survived. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be aware of the evil in the world, that we shouldn't take precautions to protect ourselves from the bad things that happen in daily life. Of course we should. This is an act of compassion for ourselves and for the people around us. But it's important to understand for our own sanity that our fundamental nature and the fundamental nature of the people around us is Buddha. That the defilements we experience, the greed, the anger, the ignorance is the exception to the rule. And that we can use those defilements as fuel for our practice so that we can clean away that last bit of evil in the world until nothing but goodness shines forth. Amitabha.